Good afternoon, it's Dan Howe, PTI Securities and Futures, coming to you for your daily wrap-up for Tuesday, October 18th. One day away from the anniversary of the 19th crash in '87, but who's remembering? The equity range overnight was relatively narrow. We only had a 10-point range overnight, indicating we probably were going to have a relatively boring day. Not exactly. Overnight, the Asia markets were down pretty good, and the European markets were down a little bit. News before the opening, the fundamental news, not good. The PTI, the headline number came in 0.8. That's almost 10% for the year, guys. So the good news is producers don't use energy and they don't use food. So their PPI core only went up 0.2. So also before the earnings, before the opening, we had several earnings. Goldman Sachs came in much worse than expected. We were looking for a negative 11 cents, and they actually came in negative 84 cents per share. Very unusual here because Goldman is probably the most transparent of all the major banks and trading firms. They actually wrote down some of their investments. They wrote down some investments in one of the Chinese banks. So compare that with Bank of America, whose earnings came in, actually we did have earnings, it came in much better than expected, where they actually wrote up the value of their securities. They actually had a $1.7 billion gain because their bonds went down, and the accounting rules say that they can actually take that as profit because they could buy them back cheaper even though they didn't. But during the course of the day, the market kind of rallied in very short spurts. The rest of the day was kind of flat. About 2:30 Chicago time, there was a rumor, actually a report, that Europe was saved yet again, and the market took off to up almost 30 on the S&Ps. And then there was a lot of backpedaling that now that France and Germany are actually in intensive talks, leads me to believe that that really wasn't settled. We sold off a little bit, but we still closed up substantially. The SPX closed up 24 today. The Dow closed up 180, even though IBM had a big down day because of their earnings after they closed yesterday. NASDAQ closed up 42. The 10-year note was negative all day because the bonds were bid. Kind of unusual given the fact that the stocks were strong. They closed at 2.15 in the 10-year yield. Dow was a little weak today, down 16. Coming up, we actually have Apple should be coming out momentarily. After we closed here today, we also had Yahoo, was a little bit better. Intel, also a little bit better. Intel also buying back a few more shares. We got American Express tomorrow. And we're looking forward to them because that should be the first glimpse of what the consumer's doing on the credit side. This has been Dan Howe, PTI Securities and Futures.